Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Faust Company. Actually, it is episode 26. And if you noticed, and if you're just tuning in right now, we didn't get a chance to play the intro music just because we were having some technical difficulties on our side. And our featured guest is going to be live streaming all the way out from Marshall, Michigan. So we didn't want to compromise the connection. So if you're out there, that's what's going on and you're in for a treat. So we are going to jump right into meeting our featured guest. And, it's going to be a great show. And we hope that everyone out there has a nice seat, because what you're in for is a very special treat. So let's jump right into it, shall we? Our featured guest is a renowned magician, magic creator, and also a magic historian. He currently sits on the executive board of the American Museum of Magic, which, by the way, holds the largest collection of magic on display in the world. It has artifacts from Doug Henning to Harry Houdini and Harry Blackstone Sr. Ladies and gentlemen, please, if you're out there, a round of threes in the comments for our wonderful guest, Jeffrey Allen. Jeffrey, it is...
Hey, how's it going?
Thank you for coming on to the show, Jeffrey. It is a pleasure to have you here, and I can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
I know, just for people out there who are wondering, because I was explaining to them that we were having some difficulties with connection, so we jumped right into the live stream, and so that's what's going on out there. I know that there's a couple people out there watching already. Jeffrey, how was your drive from your home to Marshall, Michigan?
It was kind of raining today. We're about 70 degrees, and it's raining cats and dogs.
So hopefully we can keep you out of the rain.
Yes.
And keep you dry. Nonetheless, Jeffrey, we once again thank you so much for taking the time. And I would like to know, just to start off the conversation, how did you get started in magic? At least, where does your story begin in magic?
My story begins officially with a magic kit that I received when I was 10 years old. Like a lot of older magicians that have been around for a while, they go back to their preteen years and look at what mom or dad gave to them. So my parents gave me a magic kit, and then I did my first paid show when I was 13.
And so your experience, Jeffrey, is unlike any others, because from what I see is that magic has become more than just a hobby for you, especially at age 13. You mentioned that you started working in magic as 13. Is that correct?
Yes.
So I have to ask you then, and it's more of a philosophical question, especially with someone who's had magic all their lives. What does magic mean to you, and why magic, for that matter?
Well, I was also an actor and thespian in school, but the magic to me is completely different in the way that you perform and see the happiness of the audience as they enjoy the show. And that's what I always tell people. You can learn how to do a magic trick. I could teach anybody to do a magic trick, but how to perform it is really what we're looking for.
And I think that is a great point in what you're saying. The performance of magic and giving people the experience of magic is just as important as the effect. And so you've had a long journey in magic, Jeffrey, but now you have somewhat taken the mantle of preserving the history of magic, which is where you are today. Could you tell us about how that all came to be? How did you end up taking on the role at American Museum of Magic?
Okay, well, in 1978, a man named Robert Lund began his museum here in Marshall, Michigan. He collected magic all of his life from early teen years. He was something of an amateur magician at the very beginning, but realized that he couldn't or didn't want to perform. Instead, he wanted to collect and kind of preserve magic and magic history. So he began to collect his stuff. He worked as a publisher of a major magazine and amassed this gigantic collection. It's actually the largest private collection on public display. There are larger collections, but this is the one that's on public display. The museum is open to the public.
So just for the people out there tuning in, you're located in Marshall, Michigan, and could you kind of give us somewhat of an idea of where that is? I've never been there, so I hope to someday visit, but could you kind of give us a geographic?
Yeah, everyone from Michigan holds up their hand because the Michigan looks like their hand. If you follow the middle finger down almost to the center of my palm, that's where Marshall is.
That's a wonderful description of where that is. And can I ask, is the American Museum of Magic currently open during this time?
Yes, it's open from 12 to 4, Wednesday through Sunday.
Now, Jeffrey, before I know you have a wonderful glimpse for us watching as far as the American Museum of Magic is concerned, and I can't wait. But I have to ask, magic, you also perform magic. You're not just a magic historian and a collector, but you're also a performing magician. Is that correct?
Yes.
Could you kind of describe what sort of magic sort of influences you, or what you are attracted to? What sort of magic do you perform, Jeffrey?
Well, I've done a little bit of everything close up, but primarily my shows predominate around the parlor. That's why I am impressed with you, actually. the parlor performer, because it's more intimate, and you can have a lot of fun in this setting.
Absolutely.
So generally, that's what I do, and it's mostly private parties. But we've been on television and other things. But yeah, the parlor thing is attractive to me. And you can do an illusion in that mix,
Yes.
But
it's a diverse range of magic, and it also kind of hails back to the 20th century type of magician in the Victorian era, and that's what I enjoy. Jeffrey, do you perform there at the American Museum of Magic from time to time?
I have, yes. We were pre-pandemic. We had a magician up here every Saturday at 1 p.m. And on the 40th anniversary of the museum back in 2018, I got the notion to have 40 magicians for 40 weeks. We had 40 different magicians perform on that 40th anniversary. That was fun. But yes, we have these magicians come in at 1 o'clock on Saturday. For the guests who's ever here, it's part of the tour, and they see about a 30-minute show. Yes, and I've performed. Actually, more recently, I performed for a private tour group. We also offer that on the off hours. So we're closed. You can come here and tour privately. Mm-hmm.
So before we close out the show, I want to make sure that we get all your information and that people could reach out to you if they're interested in joining a tour or seeing your magic. Jeffrey, I'm excited, and I'm hoping that you could kind of give us a glimpse of what's contained in the wall of the American Museum of Magic. Is it okay if we take a look around?
Yes, absolutely. All of the posters in here are authentic. They're from the time period of the different magicians. What's interesting about Bob Lund's philosophy was that he was interested in the big name magicians as well as the smaller, what we call the 40 milers, where they performed within a 40-mile range of their town. But probably I should start over here. We have a couple of portraits, or 8x10 pictures of Bob and Elaine Lund, founders of the museum. So there's Bob sitting at the counter, and then his wife.
Wonderful.
Bob died in 95. So in 1995, they incorporated this museum, and now it's a nonprofit organization.
Okay, so it's a 501c3 organization. Yes. Okay. And you have, from what I had read, there are several artifacts. I could see that the Carter the Great posters there. And I'm going to zoom in on that, Jeffrey.
Yeah, this is an 8 sheet. This is a gigantic. You can see my hand. This is
Oh wow.
the large print of that. That's the real deal right there. Currently, we're offering we're having a raffle until I think it's the 10th of July. If you go to our website, the raffle includes 2 paid registrations to the Abbott's get together this year.
Oh,
That's a $600 value, and I'm saying all of that because part of the raffle we have decided that we're going to let the winner pick any poster in the museum, and we'll copy it.
Oh wow. Now they could find that information, Jeffrey, on the AmericanMuseumOfMagic.com. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
That should also go to AmericanMuseumOfMagic.org. We own both domains, so
Okay.
I think it should roll over for you.
Okay, so I'm putting it down so people can look and look up that raffle that you just talked about there. So I do see something that looks like a stage. Is that correct?
That's where we do the little shows every Saturday.
Wonderful.
Yeah, this was built by one of the local universities for the museum a few years ago.
And that truly is a parlor stage, and it kind of reminds me of what people would do in a normal parlor setting, which is like a living room or a more intimate setting, to say the least.
That's right.
So you have a lot of posters there. Are these original prints or of the era? Is that correct?
Yes, these are all originals. Now the smattering of the multicolored ones up here, these are all lesser knowns. Perhaps some of your audience might recognize the names, but
yes,
for the most part, these are relatively unknown persons. Whereas you have Levant and Carter and Thurston and others, there are some that are not so well known. There's a Virgil poster there.
Could you tell us about what is an estimated range of age are we talking about here with some of these posters, Jeffrey?
I think the earliest poster I've seen in here is 1820.
1820. So we're talking over 100 years old and then some, to say the
1820 would be 200 years.
200 years. Correction. Very old indeed. Now, Jeffrey, I know that the American Museum of Magic has various artifacts in there. I'm not sure if you're close to it, but one item in there that I was very intrigued with was the Discovery of Witchcraft, the book that
I'd be happy to show you. This is when I give the tour to audiences or tour guests. I always stop at the Chung Ling Soo poster because we talk about his demise.
Yes,
in the early years, catching the act or doing the bullet catch in 1918 and dying on stage, and everyone thought he was Asian for the longest time, and it turns out he was from upstate New York, I think, and his real name was William Robinson, and this might be for some of your older listeners, but I've maintained that if he had only had a robot that said "Danger, Will Robinson," he'd probably still.
See, I get that, so I'm dating myself now.
Yeah, you have to know Lost in Space,
right?
Okay, so I, for whatever reason, I can't turn the camera around, but I'm going to show you as we pass by Chung Ling Soo.
Oh wow!
Here is the copy of. Let's see.
That's wonderful.
Discovery of Witchcraft. This is an original. It's a 1584 was when it was published by Reginald Scott.
1584.
Yes.
Amazing.
Which means that it was not published here.
Right.
It's a book that represents magic as being art or performance rather than a witchcraft.
Right.
That was the argument for it. We have a copy of the 1584, and we have 3 copies of the 1660. We have go ahead.
truly amazing. And I think for people who out there who don't know what that is, it kind of goes over what people initially thought was real magic, and it kind of dispels the myth of these so-called magic sort of things occurring during the time, which was witchcraft. So I'm quite intrigued by that book, and it's fascinating that you have it on display there.
Yeah, and in our archive, which we're going to look at in a little bit, we have 3 copies of the 1660, which was the next printing of that.
Yes.
We also have an 1881, which I've been told is almost as rare as the original, because the 1881 only had 200 copies made.
Oh, wow. And the significance to that for people out there, and I might just be beating on a drum that people know, but our country, the United States, wasn't founded till 1776, at least in. And you're talking about a book that was published in the 1500s. It's truly amazing. And so I see a poster there of Wallace the Magician, and
this is a full size. This is a full sheet, 3 sheet. I'm about 5'9", and you can see it goes to the floor.
It's amazing the size of these posters that were made, and like you said, over 200 years ago.
Our next exhibit is a Cups and Balls exhibit. We have some books published from the late 19th century, 1800s, about the Cups and Balls movement. But what's interesting is that we have Ross Bertram's cups. He was the first one to introduce the chicken, the chicks with the cups instead of
wow.
And we have John Booth. We have John Booth's Cups and Balls too.
Oh, wow.
He was a friend of Bob Lund. We call him Bob Lund. Robert Lund, the founder of the museum. Go ahead.
Jeffrey, as a magic historian, and I think a subject matter expert, at least in the field of magic, I have often heard that the Cups and Balls was one of the oldest forms of magic or magic tricks. Is that true?
That's accurate. Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Okay.
Yeah. One of my favorite films is the Penn and Teller made a video several years ago. They were traveled around the world to find the origin of the Cups and Balls. It's a great documentary.
So let me stop you there real quick, Jeffrey. We have a few comments. Will Roberts is in the house, and he says amazing. And then Micah Cover says this is quite fascinating, and giving you some applause there in the comments section. For people out there watching who are just tuning in, we are here with Jeffrey Allen at the American Museum of Magic, and he's kind of giving us a glimpse of what's contained in the museum walls. And so we are here at the Cups and Balls exhibit, and I'll hand it off to you, Jeffrey. And there they are. I'm going to zoom in, and there you go.
So we talk about the Cups and Balls being one of the oldest tricks, and then we begin to talk about the progression of magics, and that would be the grandfather of magic, of course, is Robert Houdin, the French magician. And so we have a little display on him here in the cabinet, some photographs and some letters. But our most important artifact is the magic wand that he owned.
Oh, wow.
So there's Robert Houdin's wand. It was donated to the museum several years ago. Actually, Bob Lund got it.
Jeffrey, would you say that Robert Houdin used wands in his act?
This is his wand. I suppose he did. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing that that you were able to acquire, or the museum was able to acquire, Robert Houdin's act, because he is the godfather of magic, at least performance.
That's magic. Right. Yeah, and that harkens back to my original point, that it's about performance, and then that's what I enjoy telling people. Robert Houdin's book was about the performance of magic, and he was the first one to, for example, wear a tuxedo and talk about, dressing properly in the show, and or for performance, So it was about performance art.
Absolutely. And from what I know, and I just want to say that Tim Wise is out there and he says hello to us. So he's
Hi,
just
Tim.
so I'm sure. Speaking of which, and just for a quick pause here, Jeffrey, you can also be found. I know you make videos on abra.tv.
That's right.
And people could find you there as well. And so let me just put that in the.
Okay, we're working on it. Abra.tv. It's the thing. It's coming up, man.
So I do have the link on there. So Jeffrey's on there. He has his own channel on the American Museum of Magic. So
that's right.
If you're looking for any further information on the museum, you could find it there.
And there will be much more. We're planning to do a video blitz in August. So there'll be a lot of material on there at that point.
So I see a cage there, Jeffrey. Could you tell us?
I'll show you that as we go around the wall. It's actually coming over the top of another exhibit. So we'll get there. But okay. Underneath Robert Houdin's little display, we have a number of original pieces from the Masculines. The Egyptian Hall.
Yes.
And they are another. It was Neville Maskelyne, his son, that wrote a book on the performance of magic. And that was one of the first books I read. And that's why even today I wear a tuxedo, because of the information that I received from that book.
It's truly amazing. And, I often look at Robert Houdin's sort of background. He was also a clockworker. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, that's right. We have only a photograph of one of his clocks right there.
Wonderful. And it just shows the technicality that he put into his magic. So if people are out there wondering who that is, I think that, just going to the museum and reading about this history about who Robert Houdin is, it's just truly amazing.
Yeah.
And the fact that you have acquired such a rare artifact has blown my mind as we speak. So
we jump ahead a little bit and feature Houdini. So we have a whole Houdini display here. And some of these pieces came from his brother from their estate, but this is one of the last remaining trunks or boxes that he used to escape from underwater. So this was in a river somewhere and sometime.
Oh, wow.
And then, as you know, he did a lot of handcuffs. He did cards.
Yes.
And one of the guys, promoters, said, you need to do something different. So that's when he developed this milk can escape. And this is from the Houdini family as well.
Wonderful.
The milk can. We have some smaller pieces in this cabinet, including some handcuffs, money tray. There's a horn in here from when he was debunking spiritualists. But we have a photograph of him holding the horn. If you can see that.
Oh, wonderful. Yes. Let me zoom in on that real quick, Jeffrey. There you go. So that is Harry Houdini, and
one of the mediums, one of his helpers that, he wrote a book called Unmasking the Miracle Mongers. It's about,
yes.
Yeah. And so this is a trumpet that he actually made to demonstrate.
That's wonderful.
How that works.
And Jeffrey, would you say that was something that Harry Houdini took part in later on in his life after the escapes?
Yes, because after his mother died, particularly, he was very interested in, is it possible to contact someone after death?
Yes, absolutely.
And he realized that was not, and there are several stories about it.
Now you mentioned the milk can. From what I'm seeing, it looks fairly small. Am I correct in saying that? Even small.
Let me back up and I'll put my hand on it. This is my hand.
Oh my gosh, it is. That is really small. I'm not sure how tall Harry Houdini was. Was he about 5'6"?
Yeah, 5'6" maybe. He was smaller than me. But we have a thing that was the same company that, or same school that built the stage, built this for us. And this is a little, like a little box that you can get into. And it tells you, it's the actual inside dimensions of that milk can.
That's wonderful.
It's actually bigger than you think. I'll get right inside it here.
Wonderful. Wow.
So this is the inside of the can.
That's wonderful.
So people can get their picture taken with it.
So not only can you see the milk can, but you can also kind of feel what the dimensions were like and see what he was actually dealing with. That's not a lot of room at all.
No, but it's fine. And then we have another display across from this stuff with more of contemporary things of his time.
Okay.
Some of his books that he published, and we have a number of autographed pieces.
Wow.
More recently, we received the brick from his house. Barry Spector was putting together a little package of the brick and a wand from his house in 278 West New York.
Oh, wow.
The wand is from the floorboard, or from a panel board in the house.
And did you say that was a wand that looks like a stick there, or?
Yes, that's a wand that Barry Spector made.
Oh, I see.
From the wood from Harry Houdini's house in New York City.
Wonderful.
And then a brick from his house. Those were gifts from him.
That's
the
amazing.
other thing I did here was several years ago, Dorothy Dietrich.
Yes.
She runs the Houdini Museum in Scranton and is a friend of mine. I contributed to a project that they were working on, and it's Houdiniopoly. So it's a Monopoly themed, Houdini themed Monopoly board. And it's just beautiful.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Let me zoom in on that. I think I'm big on Monopoly myself. Is this out on the market or?
Yes, it was. It was.
Okay.
It's still I think available. Kind of pricey now because they're harder to get. But Houdiniopoly.com.
Wonderful, wonderful. Who would ever imagine that Harry Houdini had his own Monopoly?
They put that together, and anybody that contributed at that time got their name on a deed. So one of the deeds has my name on it, and so it's fun. I'm not making anything on it, but it's it's their project. It was really a labor of love because they really like Houdini. And if you're ever in Scranton, Pennsylvania, they have the Houdini Museum there.
So we have more people tuning in, Jeffrey. So I just wanted to remind people where we are, just to give people an idea of what you're touring for us, or giving us a glimpse. We are currently in Marshall, Michigan with Jeffrey Allen, who is an executive board member, and we're kind of getting a glimpse of what the American Museum of Magic has. And so here we are with Jeffrey. I have to ask you, Jeffrey, it seems like the American Museum of Magic is pretty big in terms of square footage. Could you give us an idea of what we're dealing with here in terms of square footage?
Yeah, your average box car, I think this is 2 lengths of a box car in the
Yes.
180 feet or something. It is big. Each floor is 2 stories. So we have a lower level here, and then upstairs that we still have to conquer. And then after Robert passed, Robert Lund, his wife bought the local library in Marshall and put the rest of the collection there. And we call that the archive.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and that is not open to the public.
Right.
So if you come here as just come in for a public tour, you're only going to see about 40% of the collection.
Okay.
If you know me, or if, for that matter, if you know somebody that would want to do it, but if you know me on Facebook or whatever, if they personal match, just message me and I'll meet you here and give you the Magicians Only tour. The Magicians Only tour includes the archive.
Wonderful. So once again, for people out there, we're going to give Jeffrey's information later on. So if you're not friends with him already, and you're in the area, please reach out to him and you will get an exclusive tour of the American Museum of Magic.
One more Houdini piece that was really cool. Somebody dropped this off one day. This is a brick from the Garrick Theater, where Houdini was performing the week he died.
Right, right.
This is from that theater. It's just part of the display here. We actually have a brick from the theater. We have a brick from the hospital he died in, Grace Hospital in Detroit, and
Wow.
we have the brick from his house. So, yeah, just a little bit of everything here.
That's amazing.
Samples, sawing a lady in half, and the history of all of that. And then this year we opened an exhibit on Harry Blackstone Sr. In fact, the Michigan magicians honored Gay Blackstone, Harry Sr., and Harry Jr. in the Michigan Magic Hall of Fame.
Wonderful.
It's an award that we give out. And I hosted that in November last year. But to coordinate with that, we put together a display.
Oh, wonderful.
Senior. This is a little bit bigger than life size. So again, I'm 5'9", and he's
right.
This is a full size thing you can get your picture with, and this is the toolkit that his brother used, Pete Bouton, to fix it. Their version of Gollum.
Oh yes.
Automata.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Some programs and whatnot in this cabinet here.
I have to ask Jeffrey, it seems like there are a lot of artifacts of Harry Blackstone Sr. at the museum. Was there any sort of connection to Harry Blackstone?
Yes, Harry Blackstone Sr. was friends with Bob, and as well as Junior more specifically, because after Sr. passed, then the Blackstone family gave a number of pieces to the museum.
Wonderful.
Including most of the costumes from the Blackstone Senior show. We have, that's what you're looking at here. We have Harry Blackstone Senior's top hat.
Oh, wow.
Very interesting piece here. If you know anything about the history of Abbott's, the original plan was for Harry Blackstone and Percy Abbott started a business called the Blackstone Magic Company. That's a catalog from the Blackstone Magic Company.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's rare.
Truly.
Here, yeah. This is on temporary loan from a collector, but it's one of the rabbits that Blackstone used. It's the taxidermy. This is the real rabbit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And is there a name for the rabbit, Jeffrey?
Don't have a name.
So
and then many pieces here that are, informative display about the display, several. And then, of course, many of the Blackstone posters.
Yes.
Are on the wall here.
So much to absorb with everything that's there.
Yeah.
It would almost seem like that you would have to visit it a couple of times to really absorb everything that's contained.
That's true. I'm not going to take you downstairs, but this is part of the Magicians Only tour. This was a bakery in 1877.
Oh, wonderful.
Oven downstairs, and down in the basement here.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Are many more treasures. Several Blackstone crates from this show, and Blackstone's the rickshaw illusion is down there. This was like the chair that makes the assistant appear in a rickshaw.
Yes.
It's pretty crazy.
And to be clear, Jeffrey, you would be able to show people or magicians that those exhibits down in the bakery if they were to show up live in person?
Yes.
Wonderful. So if you're out there as a magician, and I know that I see Trent Wrench is out there saying that he would love to go out there as well. So if you're a magician, you will get the exclusive tour. But if you're a non-magician, you do get some of the glimpse of these hidden sort of artifacts as well. Am I correct?
That's exactly right. Yeah. Okay. We have 4 buckets here, these brass buckets, and these are gigantic. They're 25-gallon buckets.
Oh, wow.
These were used to fill the water torture cell
of Harry Houdini.
Yes. So he used these in his show.
Wonderful.
There are 4 of those, and there's actually a letter extant or known talking about the buckets that they'll be out on stage, and that there's certain temperature of water and all that. It's very fascinating history. We have a small Thurston display. I'd like to expand this at some point because we have a number of pieces on Thurston.
Yes. Yes. Let me zoom in on that there. Looks like old pamphlets, books.
Yeah. Some of his plates that they printed for posters and whatnot, pictures.
Wonderful.
Down here is a flash pan that belonged to him
Wow.
from his show. And some more pictures here.
And this is part of the golden age of magic. Am I correct, Jeffrey?
Yes, that's right. That's right. So we're going to go upstairs now.
Wonderful. I'm so fascinated with that era, and I know that you yourself wear a tuxedo to pay homage to that era, and I myself, understand that, because looking at your place and just looking at what's contained in the walls, you truly get the sense that if you're performing magic, you truly are following in the legacy of giants in magic. And, just these names that we've already gone through, from Harry Houdini to Harry Blackstone and many others, Levant, it's just almost overwhelming as to the tradition that magicians carry on. And so we're on the second floor now.
Yeah, and as you come up the stairs over to the right are Dornfield's show. All of his props are still in those boxes. This is the great Dorney, the magician. Yeah.
Wow, still packed away.
Yeah, when we come into the second floor, we've got several Walter Shepard pieces.
Wonderful.
That Walter Shepard made something like Aikido style pieces.
Those look like they're early 1900s. Is
right,
that...
but they're not. They're maybe 1980s.
Okay.
Yeah.
The style.
My favorite one. Walter Shepard was painted all these props and said that his paint was the strongest and all that. On this particular prop, the knob is a portrait of Bob and Elaine Lund. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh wow! There you go. A little bit over. There you go. I see it now. Wonderful.
Yeah. So that was his tribute to them.
Wonderful.
Yeah, had those things. We've got a wall of books. This was a gift from someone in Southern California, and we brought these over here just to demonstrate, that it's not only props, but it's about the books.
Yes.
And so many magicians ignore books. There are thousands or hundreds of magic tricks in one book, whereas if you bought that many tricks, it would be a very expensive proposition. We also have, I put this display, and we've got several magic kits up here that would be interesting, more popular. The Bill Bixby magic set.
Oh, wow.
My favorite Martian from the show. There's Blackstones.
Yes.
And from Uncle Double with James Bond. That's a briefcase with a magic set in it.
Oh, wow. The significance of a magic set, Jeffrey.
Yeah, for me, it's that. Yeah, that's what started it. So I'm
right. And it's wonderful that you paid homage to that, because I think the magic set started for many people, and it is just such a pleasure to kind of be taken back in time, and
to continue the chronology here. We've got pieces from Thayer and Theo Bamberg's.
Oh yes.
Items here, and Floyd Thayer, and then Dante's sword. Dante was one of the contemporaries of Thurston, or actually performed Thurston's show in South America.
Right.
John Mulholland used to do a history of magic, and there's some masks from his show and a robe that he wore. Got lots of things. That's the Chinese sticks that belong to Doug Henning.
Oh wow, wow. I think you just brought up a childhood hero of mine, and Doug Henning was one of the first, if not the first person that I ever seen on television doing magic live.
2 years ago, I was talking to Victor Cephas, Victor and Diamond, and I asked him if he could send something out, and so he graciously sent this out, and I always point it out. Some gloves from his fire gloves to doves.
Oh, wow.
So that's there. And he was amazed that one of his heroes is right across from him from that display, and that's Jack Codell. Got a picture of Jack Codell here. You know, Jack was the one that replaced the multiplying balls with multiplying parakeets.
Oh, wonderful. And so now we're going into more of the contemporary type of magicians.
Yeah. Here's a display of Bill Baird's stuff. There's Bill Baird's multiplying balls, billiard balls.
Yes.
From his wife. Got different. This is a local man that traveled around a couple of the states, Ohio and Michigan. Dr. Dean's medicine show. That's a real medicine jacket that he got from a medicine man in the 1800s. Several more contemporary posters here. There's Tina Leonard.
Oh yes, I know Tina.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And then one of my favorites here is Ellen Armstrong.
Okay.
She worked with her dad. In 1889, they were performing, and then he passed, and she took over his show. And she's actually pointed out as one of the first or early Black women to be performing in magic.
That's wonderful. And, you know, that's the great thing about having you there, Jeffrey, is that you can explain a lot of what the history of what these posters are, because just on face value, I wouldn't have any idea of, a lot of the names up there. And, I think it's important that someone like you knows the background, knows the history of what these prints are. And it truly is an honor to have you here showing us around.
There's two posters from Horace Golden's show right there. The Great Golden. And then we have several representations of posters. These are the actual posters from, if you take Sanders.
Oh, wonderful.
Another African-American performer in his spook show and whatnot. These are all original posters from him.
What year would you say Sanders is?
Oh, boy.
You could almost see the
well, I think he was peaking in the 50s, like 58, 57, 58. Yeah.
I can almost notice that the prints behind you almost somewhat, symbolizes the era that, they were performing at. And that's why I ask.
Okay. Yeah. His show was in the 50s. And I wish I'd been able to meet him.
Yes.
For sure. We have a cannon on the floor here. So it's a fairly sizable cannon. This belonged to Herman the Great, and Adelaide Herman gave this to Ab Dixon, and Ab Dixon gave it to Bob Lund. So that's how we got it. But it's got a great story with it. One of Bob's favorite places that he would take his visitors is his curio cabinet with all the statues.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Performing magic in different styles and different persons.
Yes.
Rare collectible pieces.
Jeffrey, I have to ask you, and I'd love to ask you, out of all the things there, what truly, what is your favorite? What inspires you when you go to the museum?
Well, we're looking at this cabinet here, and my inspiration in this cabinet is Matthias Buchinger. Right here.
Wow. Yes.
18th century, 1700s magician.
Wow.
No hands, no legs. He did the cups and balls and everything.
That's right. That's right.
Just a cool guy that's depicted here in these statues.
I think Ricky Jay had written a book about that particular man. It's an amazing story.
Yeah. Now in the 80s and even I think, toward the end of the 90s, the La Grande Bead Show.
Oh, wow.
Massachusetts. This is a bronze statue that was in the lobby of that theater. There's only two of these, and one's here. It weighs about 400 pounds. But
that is an amazing piece.
The broom suspension, and people can see that here. We have Senior Ray's costume. He was
yes
in Vegas. We have Penn and Teller's suits Teller gave us.
Oh, wonderful.
Color suits are here.
And are those to size? Is that life size?
Yes, they're right to. Yeah, so here's Penn.
Yes.
Like my head's at. Yeah, wait. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Just
you're
amazing.
5'9", so that gives us reference.
Yeah, it's amazing how big it is. Just
Wonderful.
tons of stuff here. We also have featured the Chavez College of Magic.
Yes.
A
Who?
couple of years ago, we had one of the first graduates. His son came here. He said, "My dad was one of the first graduates of Chavez," and I said, "Are you kidding me? Like, we need to get him here." So we brought him all the way from Youngstown, Ohio. We did a press conference and everything. And he gave us the first kit. This is the very first magic set you get.
Oh, wonderful.
Chavez School.
And Dale Selwack currently runs that organization as we speak.
After the Chavezes retired, Neil Foster took it over and brought it to Michigan. And Neil Foster's here. We have his original zombie ball.
Oh, wonderful.
I don't know if you can see that.
Let me zoom in on there. Yes, we can see it. Neil Foster's zombie ball.
Yep, and the fan.
Wonderful.
And the gentleman that I mentioned earlier, whose dad came from the original class,
yes,
was in the same class with Neil Foster, and that gentleman's name is Neil, named after Neil Foster. So I thought that was kind of cool. We have a Kido's travel trunk. His clothes are still in this thing.
Oh, wonderful.
Theo Bamber. It says TB on the top of that.
That's amazing. And they were all painted. It looks orange, red.
Yeah, this is red. It's the Blackstone show that painted their crates orange so that they could identify the pieces. We talk about that in our tour.
They don't they don't make them like that anymore.
Right. Here's another exclusive. Bob Lund used to keep the books back here. This is a closet that's locked upstairs.
Yes.
But now we have all of the 500 magic sets.
Oh, wow.
In here.
Wow. And this is not part of the normal public display.
Not at all. Not at all. No.
Okay.
No. I just noticed the window got knocked down there. This happens to be, we're bringing this out later. This is the Great Willard's tuxedo.
Oh, wonderful. Wow. So would it be safe to say that the American Museum of Magic is going to be rotating these exhibits through or
yes. Yeah, that's safe. They've just been in hiding. Like the last piece upstairs I'm going to show you as we talk about the contemporary magicians was in the closet when I came here. And I contracted a company out of Grand Rapids, Michigan that built a plexiglass case. It weighs about 200 pounds. And we put it right over the top of this. And that is Doug Henning's Zigzag.
Oh, wow.
This is from the Broadway show.
Oh, my gosh. That's wonderful. The original Zigzag from the Broadway show of Doug Henning.
That's right. This one is, if Chip Romero is watching, this is the one he wants.
Chip, if you're out there, there it is. That's for you.
He knows it's here. And, he shows a picture of article in Time magazine that featured Doug. It has 6 illusions pictured on it. All of the 6 illusions that Doug did in the Broadway show. Chip has 5 of them. Number 6 is right behind me.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
It is a wonderful exhibit, a wonderful place. And I hope that I can visit there sometime soon to see it all for myself.
We have a little corner here devoted to Carol Fox.
Oh, wonderful. Here, I'm going to zoom in on here.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Carol Fox. There it is.
One time IBM president and also owned a magic shop or helped magic shop in Detroit. And then we got several posters given to Bob from his friends. David Blaine. Here's David Blaine. Copperfield.
Yes.
And Kreskin was friends with Bob. One of Bob's real good friends was Dunninger.
Oh, yes. I actually have a book from Jeff McBride had given me a book on, and the Encyclopedia of Magic from.
That's a great book.
Yes.
That's a great book. So we have all of these, and I'm going to stop up here on the T. Nelson Downs. T. Nelson Downs' famous coins and card manipulator, because I have a surprise for you over at the other building.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay, so that pretty much covers everything that the public sees.
Wonderful. So if you're out there, just a reminder to everyone just tuning in or happening to come on, Jeffrey Allen here is one of the executive board members of the American Museum of Magic, and he's given us a glimpse of what the public sees at the museum. And so now we're going to be getting a glimpse of some of the private collections, I would say.
I mentioned earlier the Michigan Magic Hall of Fame. This is the plaques for that.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, it's a polished plexiglass plaque with a mirror shaped like top hat with their name engraved on it. And this is this year's recipient.
And are these magicians from Michigan, Jeffrey?
Yes. Yeah. You had to have you had to be from Michigan and made a contribution to magic, a significant contribution to magic. And so we have Harry Blackstone, Senior, Harry Jr., and Gay.
Wonderful.
From last year. The year before was Will Rock. Will Rock is a Michigander.
A wonderful.
He was the Thurston show.
Wonderful.
I'm going to this door.
And are we going to be going into a different building now? Or
we're going to go over across the parking lot to another building. Yep. I just want to make sure that we're keeping folks out.
I'm gonna throw on to the screen here the site of where people can find the American Museum of Magic, and it is AmericanMuseumofMagic.com or AmericanMuseumofMagic.org. So you can find Jeffrey and a lot of the things that you've seen here on that site. So check him out. Also, Jeffrey, I'm going to put on your Facebook page so people can see it. Can they go to on Facebook, Jeffrey Allen, and they can look you up there?
Yes.
As well.
Yeah. Yep. I also have a new Instagram account, Jeffrey Allen. Jeffrey Allen Magic.
Okay, I'm going to put that in there real quick. Jeffrey Allen, that's all one word. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, Allen Magic. So if you're out there surfing the social media, this is Jeffrey just stated that he's also on Instagram, so we can start following him on there. I definitely will. What he's doing right now is he's taking us across the street, I assume, to a different building, and we're going to get a glimpse of a private collection that is not normally seen by the public at the American Museum of Magic, and it seems like it's dry out there, so hopefully Jeffrey's not getting rained on. It seems like his screen stalled for a bit. Hopefully we get him back, but in the meantime,
the parking lot behind the museum and over to the public library building.
It seems like your video stopped feeding, Jeffrey, but we can still hear you. So for people tuning in there, and just hang on as Jeffrey works it out as far as the technical difficulties. Walking across the street from the American Museum of Magic, what he's just done is he's given us a glimpse of all the artifacts that are contained within the museum walls, and I can't thank him enough. We've seen artifacts from Harry Houdini to Doug Henning and Harry Blackstone, and if you're in Marshall, Michigan, you can find them there. It seems like we got him back, so we're gonna bring his screen up and see if he can hear us. Jeffrey, can you hear us? it seems like he's still on mute there, but we do have a feed, and we'll wait for Jeffrey to get into the museum. But like I said, you could check out the American Museum of Magic.com.org. And you were back.
We are in the archive building now, and
Wonderful.
I'm having a little bit of audio issue again, so we may not be able to ask questions unless I get out and back in.
It's perfectly fine.
Oh, we're good now. We're good. You're back. So I'm going to turn the lights on. This is part of the drill, so we can see.
And this is the archive section. Am I correct, Jeffrey? That's what you meant.
Yeah, and talk about behind the scenes. You just saw me turn the lights on in this place. Okay, and while we're right here in the office area.
Let's zoom in on that.
That's what that is, everybody. That is Okito's table, his table.
Oh, wonderful.
His checker solution.
That is wonderful. Just the artwork alone, from what we can see here, is very intricate.
Yeah.
And it truly has.
You never know what you're going to find here, I'm telling you. So we have several posters. These are gigantic. Alexander, look at this.
Oh, wow. That is amazing. That looks like it's almost 8 feet tall.
Yeah, it is. And then we have the other piece that Chip would like to get, and that is the Magic Show poster. This is a 3-sheet.
Right.
Typically, collectors only have the bottom 2 sections.
Oh, wow.
Not very many people have seen the top part of this.
Oh,
so
wow.
We have 3 sections poster. This is, as far as we know, the only one in existence.
Wow. Priceless. And that's the Magic Show of Doug Henning on Broadway.
Right. And several other pieces here. This pillory here is part of the Blackstone show. This is an interesting piece. And over here, this is part of the levitation trick that belonged to Keller.
Wonderful.
That was his.
Harry Keller.
Yeah.
There's just so much to exhibit.
Yeah. They've moved some things. I'm going to show you.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you the books. These are, this is the library. It's all alphabetized by author. So I'll just walk down the A row.
Yes. Wonderful. Now, what are the plans for the library? Do you open that up to
researchers? Yeah,
researchers.
We've had everybody here.
Yes.
Richard Kaufman, Jim Steinmeier, they've all been here.
Yes.
And here's the rest. I'm just going to walk slowly by these.
Wow.
There are about 20,000 volumes here. We're in the process, since I came on, we're in the process of indexing these in the database. So you'll be able to see what we have by title and author. He also collected every journal. Name a magic journal, and you may not even be able to name them.
Yes.
We have every copy.
Wow.
Here's the Sphinx from the beginning to the end.
Wow. It's
yeah.
It truly is a lifetime of collection and
The Magic Wand. It's British magazines. We have all of the linking ring from the beginning, the IBM linking ring. If you look in the August of 1985 August, I'm in that one.
Oh, wonderful. 1985 August. Okay.
Yeah.
Point taken. I will look that up.
And then we have one of my favorite pieces in this area is Personally Bound by Robert Lund.
Wonderful.
This is Houdini's Conjures Monthly. So this is the original Conjures Monthly magazine.
Wonderful.
Well, what's interesting about this particular edition is there's a signed Harry Houdini picture inside.
Oh, wow.
So that's volume 1, number 1 right there. And he has the entire run of that. These are in better condition than the ones at the Library of Congress.
That's, oh, wonderful. That's amazing. It truly is an amazing collection.
Yep. All of these white boxes in this section are photographs with the negatives of Desfor. Desfor was a magician photographer. So any photographs from the late 50s to the late 80s in any magazine, it was Desfor that took the picture, and they're in these alphabetized.
And you mentioned, Jeffrey, that you are going to be at least having a digital reference of what's contained in the library for those researchers or people interested in what's collected.
Just so many interesting things in here. Like this little case here has original Will Rock films. This are 35 millimeter films.
Right.
Of Will Rock's opener.
Some of the younger kids won't know what the 35 millimeter film is.
Yeah, they don't know who Will Rock is either.
Truly his.
But I do, and his daughter is a great friend of the museum.
That's.
There's another cabinet here. I left the key over at the museum, but that has the other Discovery of Witchcraft. I suppose I shouldn't show you everything, or else no one would come here. But there are some very Pepper. The book on Pepper's Ghost.
Yes.
Jim Steinmeier wrote a book. Jim Steinmeier wrote a book about that book, and we have it here.
And for people who are not familiar with Pepper's Ghost, that would be the same illusion found at the Haunted Mansion in Disneyland. Am I correct in saying that, Jeffrey?
That's true. Yes. It involves mirrors.
Yes.
To reflect, things that are there or not there. Mm-hmm. That's right. Probably the major part of this collection is Bob's fascination with all magicians, including the lesser known. I'm even a lesser known, for that matter. But when he would be on vacation, he'd reading a newspaper, and he'd find a little clipping of a magician. He'd cut it out.
Yes.
Put it into a miscellaneous folder, and if he found 2 more pieces on that same magician, then he created a file folder for that magician.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Oh. And that's what's represented here in the 35 filing cabinets.
Oh, wow. So of the lesser magicians, and that's something that he did on his own, was if he could find 2 clippings on a magician, it would be archived. I mean, truly archived. Yeah.
So here's for example, Marshall Bourdain's folder. So it's lesser knowns and greater. But he's got a deck of Marshall Bourdain's magic cards in here.
Oh, but wonderful!
Just right near that is a folder on yours truly.
Oh, and that's something that we definitely have to explore. There he is. There he is.
Well, he set up this file folder when I was a teen magician. So he has some of my teen pieces in there. And then when I became a board member, I added to it. But otherwise, wonderful. He created the folder. I didn't. Some people are bigger than others, whereas some of these magicians have a folder. Thurston gets a whole drawer. So this is the Thurston. Actually, they've taken some of the Thurston out because we're doing the indexing right now, but there's some more Thurston. The original photographs and material, just amazing. And these are all mounted posters of different magicians. Look at them. Yes. Hundreds.
It truly is. I can sense the passion that the Lunds had taken in this collection. And
here's some more Irving Desfor pictures. You might recognize this one, Valentine.
Oh yes.
There's a pretty famous picture there.
Oh yes.
That's a Willem Irving Desfor, and then. This is a shot of Jay Marshall performing on stage.
That's wonderful.
And this is going to appear in a book soon.
And those are photos, right, Jeffrey?
These are the actual photographs, taken from the negatives, but they're the photos. Irving Desford and Bob were friends, and there are photographs here of those two meeting and making the deal, as it were, to get the Irving Desford collection.
I can't thank you enough for, like you said, we can, there's so much to go through, and I think we'd be spoiling it for everyone.
Right.
If we really dove right in, and I get the feeling that just in the hour alone that we've covered, there's so much more to explore.
Yeah, this stuff that I'm pointing to right now is new acquisitions. When we get something in the mail or whatever,
Yes.
it's put here and then checked in. It's just amazing the amount of material, and that's only the top floor of this part of this building. There's a second floor to this one too.
That's amazing.
I think we're almost out of time, but I'll just run down here real quick and show you.
Yes.
This may be hard to see, but in this closet here, I'll stand back here for a little light. Those are the costumes from Harry Blackstone Jr.'s show.
Oh, wonderful. Harry Blackstone Jr., you said.
Yeah, yeah. So that our plan is to have an exhibit on him probably next year. But here's another whole room with more.
Oh,
material.
wonderful.
Like here's some more of the buckets from Houdini's show.
Wonderful. I can't compliment the American Museum of Magic and the staff. How big is the staff there?
Well, it's mostly volunteer, and when I do this, it's volunteer, of course.
Yes.
We have one full-time director, or not full-time, but she's here a long time,
Yeah.
a lot of time, I should say. And then we have a person who runs the desk. So actually, there's 2 paid employees. The rest is all volunteer.
And truly a labor of love to collect and preserve the history of magic. So my hats off to all of you, especially you, Jeffrey, for bringing this to the public and preserving the history of magic and telling the history of magic to all of us. And for everyone out there watching, I would encourage everyone to visit, to actually see these things, because that's what they deserve to be. And
yeah, that was Robert Lund's plan,
Yep.
to preserve the magic.
And I can't thank you enough, Jeffrey. I know our time's running out here. I would hope that we could continue this, perhaps more specifically on an exhibit, and to spend more time talking about that exhibit. This was a treat, and I would love to have you come back at some point soon to talk more about some of the history in the American Museum of Magic.
Yeah.
Well, if I may, and if you still have time, Jeffrey, I would like to, if you would indulge us in answering some questions.
Okay.
If that's okay.
I'm even willing to do a quick magic trick too.
Oh, absolutely. We won't deny that. We won't deny that.
What do you want first?
Well, how about this? We'll end it on the questions. Let's do some magic. I think after seeing all the magic, I think we're ready.
This is absolutely one of my favorites. I do that. I actually do this in my show now. I say, how many want to see a card trick? Right?
Right.
Take cards out and then, oh wait. What?
It's coming a bit broken.
Oh,
but none
the box shrunk.
Oh, bravo! It was coming in delayed, Jeffrey. So we were giving we were giving delayed responses, and so thank you so much for sharing that. And I want to say that Debbie Paisley says thank you for the tour, and I can't thank you enough for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Before we go, Jeffrey, I want to make sure that everyone knows where to contact you. And you do perform magic at the American Museum of Magic. You also do tours, and they could reach out to you on Facebook. So I have that up. And then also the American Museum of Magic.com, and also .org you mentioned.
Yes.
And then and finally, you are also on Instagram at Jeffrey Allen Magic.
Right.
So if you guys are out there and you're tuning in, Jeffrey has given us a wonderful treat today, and an honor to see some magic, also hear about magic at the American Museum of Magic. Jeffrey, I do have 10 questions, if you would,
okay.
if we may. Yeah. These questions are meant to be fun. Actually, it has a bit of history, and I think all the history that we went through, I think it's appropriate. You see, these questions were actually developed by Marcel Proust, a Victorian poet. And they were just simply an old parlor game. And I know how much you love the parlor, at least that setting. It was a parlor game between friends. And no explanation needed, just one sentence to answer the question. And to also, it was made sort of more famous by a man named James Lipton of Inside the Actors Studio, but he asked these questions to actors. And I had often wondered what would a magician. So in honor of James Lipton, I ask you these questions, Jeffrey. The first question is, what is your favorite magic word?
I like abracadabra.
Abracadabra. Wonderful. Jeffrey, what is your least favorite magic word?
And now for my next trick.
Well said. Jeffrey, what turns you on in magic?
A great legacy. We stand on the shoulders of some great persons, and that's what keeps me going.
What turns you off in magic?
Bad magic, bad performance. I've talked all about performance tonight. These persons that are in here and depicted on these posters and everything, they're here for a reason, and that's because they were well-known performers. And so bad performance is bad.
Well said, Jeffrey. The next question I have for you is, what sound or noise in magic do you love?
Wow. I might have to reveal a magic trick if I tell you. You know what's fun more recently? We do a couple tricks in our show with cards, and I think the riffling of cards.
Yes, the riffling of cards. What sound? Wonderful. Truly, we can have a full discussion on that. But what sound or noise in magic do you hate?
When certain things are talking, and magicians will know what I'm saying.
Yes.
They'll know what I'm talking about when something talks in a show that's not supposed to.
Well said. Jeffrey, what is your favorite cuss word, if you have one?
Whoa, I don't have a cuss word. Maybe the word cuss. I think the cuss word. Actually, my grandfather used to say, he used to kind of do the contraction.
Yes.
And he would use the word tell.
Ah.
And so he'd say, "Tell's the matter with you."
Ah.
So that's what I think of when someone asks me that.
Jeffrey, what profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Wow, I've done a lot. You know, my secret life is that I'm a college professor in history. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, what would I like to do in another life? I think I would choose magic again.
Yes, well said. Jeffrey, what profession would you not like to do?
Paratrooper. Jumping from airplanes and landing on beaches and getting shot. No. Yeah, that's not good.
The final question I have for you tonight, Jeffrey, is, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Well, I'll just say this: as long as you ask the question, I believe it does exist, and I would want him to say welcome.
Well said, Jeffrey. I can't thank you enough for coming, and it was a wonderful conversation with you, and also just an overall exploration of the museum. It is an honor to have you here, because you are one of the few that actually preserves the history of magic, and I can't say enough how honored I am to just have you here, Jeffrey.
Thank you.
And if you have, I always leave it to our featured guest to close the night with a last positive note. Is there anything you want to say to the audience before we close it off tonight, Jeffrey?
Yeah. As a magician, magic is alive through us.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't express enough how grateful I am to have this featured guest here. And I hope all of you have enjoyed, and I hope that you have all found something of interest at the American Museum of Magic, and I hope that you reach out to Jeffrey to seek more explorations in that wonderful, wonderful building. My name is Chris Heron as Faust, and this is Jeffrey Allen, and we bid you guys a good night. Good night, everyone.